Hey there, settle in. Dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft, soothing hum. And let's dive into a world that's equal parts dazzling and deadly. Tonight, you're not just anyone. You're a male concubine in the imperial court. Of Rome, not an emperor, not a senator, but a young man caught in the gilded cage of the Palatine Hill. No golden laurel crown for you. No marble throne, just a life of silk whispers and the constant threat of a dagger in the dark. Before we start, take a moment to like this story if you enjoy it, and let me know in your thoughts where you're reading from and what time it is. It's always wild to see who's joining us from across the globe. Let's step into the perfumed chaos of the Roman court, where every smile hides a scheme, survival is an art form. You wake to the sound of soft footsteps echoing on marble, the faint clink of a servant's tray, and the distant hum of Rome beyond the palace walls. Congratulations, you're a male concubine in the imperial court, living in a palace so grand it makes your old life feel like a straw-stuffed shack. The walls around you gleam with polished stone, frescoes of gods and nymphs staring down with unblinking eyes. Golden candelabras cast flickering light across mosaics that cost more than allegiance wages. Your bed is draped in silks from the east, softer than a summer breeze, but it's no place for rest. This is the Palatine, the beating heart of Rome's power, and every inch of it is watching you. Your room, if you can call it that, is less a sanctuary and more a stage. It's not yours. Not really, it's a gift from the emperor, or perhaps the empress, a reminder that your presence here is borrowed, not owned. The air smells of myrrh and roses, but it's heavy, like the weight of 1,000 eyes. Servants linger just out of sight, their ears sharper than their brooms, ready to report your every word to someone with a sharper knife. You're not alone. Not ever. The palace is a labyrinth of corridors and courtyards, but privacy is a myth. Every gesture, every glance, is cataloged by slaves, courtiers, and rivals who'd sell their own mothers for a step up the social ladder. As a male concubine, you're a curiosity, a status symbol for the emperor or empress who favors you. You caught their eye with your charm, your wit, or that perfectly sculpted jawline you've spent hours maintaining with oils and prayers. But don't get comfortable. Your beauty is your currency, and it's a coin that spends fast in Rome. You're not the only one vying for attention. Other concubines, male and female, glide through the halls like perfumed vipers, their smiles as sharp as the pins in their hair. Hey, there's Lucius, with his honeyed voice and a knack for reciting Ovid like he wrote it himself. There's Claudia, whose laugh can charm a senator but whose eyes promise ruin to anyone who crosses her. They're your rivals, your colleagues, your potential executioners. One misstep, one moment of disfavor, and they'll be circling like wolves around a wounded deer. The pressure to stay in the emperor's good graces is relentless. If you're favored by the emperor, say, a man like Nero or Hadrian, you're expected to be at his side, laughing at his jokes, praising his poetry, even if it's dreadful. If it's the empress, like Messalina or Agrippina, you're navigating a different kind of danger, one where jealousy and ambition tangle like thorns. You're not just a companion. You're a prop in their public image, a living testament too. Their power and allure. But the moment their mood shifts or a new face catches their eye, you're yesterday's wine, left to sour in the corner. Your day begins with a ritual of preparation. Slaves bustle around you, dabbing your skin with scented oils, combing your hair into perfect curls, draping you in a tunic so fine it feels like wearing a cloud. But every choice, every fold of fabric, every shade of dye is a calculated move. Where too much gold and you're ostentatious, a threat to the emperor's vanity. Where too little and you're forgettable, fading into the background of the court. You walk a tightrope, and the fall is not metaphorical. A rival might whisper that your new emerald ring was a bribe from a scheming senator. Servant might accidentally spill wine on your tunic before a banquet, leaving you scrambling to save face. Every moment in this palace is a test, and failure isn't just embarrassment, it's exile, or worse. The palace itself is a paradox. It's breathtaking, with gardens where fountains sing and statues of gods loom like silent judges. But it's also a pressure cooker. The air is thick with intrigue, and the walls seem to whisper. You hear snippets of conversations, senators plotting tax hikes, generals debating campaigns in Parthia, a freedman begging for a loan. You learn quickly to keep your ears open and your mouth shut. Knowledge is power, but speaking it aloud is a death sentence. You're not just living in a palace. You're surviving in a battlefield where the weapons are words, glances, and the occasional poisoned fig. And yet, for all its dangers, the palace is intoxicating. The feasts, the music, the sheer excess, it's a world most Romans can only dream of. You've tasted wines from Gaul, worn fabrics woven by hands in far-off Syria, heard poets recite verses that make your heart ache. But every pleasure comes with a price. You're not here to enjoy. You're here to perform, to dazzle, to survive. The emperor's favor is your shield, but it's as fragile as the glass goblet you hold at dinner. Oh, crack. And it shatters. Welcome to the imperial court, where beauty is a blade, and you're always one step from bleeding. The sun climbs higher, and your day as a male concubine shifts from preparation to performance. In the imperial court, rituals and duties are your stage, and the audience is merciless. You're not just a pretty face. You're a player in Rome's grand theater, where every gesture must be flawless, every word a masterpiece. The emperor, or empress, expects you to shine, not just for them, but for the entire court senators. Foreign envoys, even the slaves who'll gossip about you in the kitchens. Your role is to embody elegance, to be a walking testament to the empire's grandeur. But one slip, and you're a footnote in someone else's triumph. Your morning might begin with a formal salutatio, the daily ritual where clients and courtiers flock to the emperor's atrium to pay their respects. You're there, standing just behind the imperial throne, dressed in a toga so pristine it could blind a Vestal virgin. The fabric is heavy, the folds meticulously arranged by slaves who've spent hours ensuring not a single pleat is out of place. You smile, you nod. You murmur compliments to visiting dignitaries, but you're not there to speak. Your job is to be seen, to radiate charm without stealing the spotlight. The emperor might toss you a playful glance, a sign of favor that sends your rivals into a quiet frenzy. The empress might ask you to recite a line of poetry, testing your wit in front of 100 watchful eyes. You'd better know your Virgil, or you're done. Next comes the day's main event. A banquet in the triclinium. A dining hall so opulent it makes the gods jealous. The tables are laden with silver platters of roasted peacock, dormice, stuffed with pine nuts, and fruits you didn't even know existed. Musicians pluck lyres, dancers swirl in veils that cost more than a soldier's yearly pay, and the air hums. With laughter and intrigue, you recline on a couch, propped on one elbow, looking effortlessly graceful even though your arm is screaming from the strain. Your tunic, crimson, perhaps, to catch the emperor's eye clings to your form, every fold a silent boast of your status. What? You're not here to eat. You're here to perform. You laugh at the right moments. Sip your wine with restraint, and avoid the garum-soaked fish that could leave your breath reeking for hours. The emperor might call you over to share a joke. You'd better have a witty response ready. Something clever but not too clever outshining him is a one-way ticket to obscurity. The empress might ask you to pass a dish. Her smile is sharp, as the knife hidden in her sleeve. Every word you speak is weighed, every glance measured. You're not just dining. You're navigating a chessboard where every pawn is plotting your checkmate. Then there's the Colosseum, where the court attends spectacles to show Rome's might. You're in the imperial box, surrounded by senators and sycophants, cheering as gladiators bleed in the sand below. The crowd roars, but you're watching. The emperor's face, gauging his mood. If he's pleased, you cheer louder. If he's bored, you lean in with a whispered jest to keep him entertained. Your role is to amplify his glory, to be the perfect companion in this public display of power. But the blood on the sand is a reminder. In Rome, even the favored can fall. Your duties extend to smaller rituals, two escorting the empress to a temple, carrying her litter through the forum, or standing silently at a sacrifice to Jupiter. Each task demands perfection. Your sandals must gleam, your posture must be regal, your expression serene, even when a senator's bad breath makes You want a gag? You're a living ornament, a symbol of the Empire's excess, but you're also a servant, bound by invisible chains. The court watches, waiting for you to stumble a misspoken word, a wrinkled tunic, a moment of weakness. They're sharks, and any hint of blood will draw them in. The weight of these rituals is exhausting. You're not just performing for the emperor or empress. You're performing for Rome itself. Every banquet, every procession, every glance is a chance to solidify your place or lose it forever. You're a dancer on a knife's edge, and the music never stops. By the time the sun sets, your body aches. Your mind is a tangle of calculated words and suppressed fears, but you can't rest yet. The night brings its own dangers, and in the imperial court, the real battles begin when the torches are lit, as the torches flare to life. The palace transforms from a stage to a battlefield. The imperial court is no place for the naive. A nest of vipers where every smile hides a scheme, and every cup of wine could be your last. As a male concubine, you're not just a pretty face. You're a pawn in a game of power, where senators, empresses, and even slaves are plotting moves that could end with you in a marble tomb or a muddy ditch. The danger isn't just in the open, it's in the whispers, the sidelong glances, the gifts that come with strings sharper than steel. The court thrives on intrigue. You might overhear a senator muttering about a new tax to fund a campaign in Britannia, or catch a freedman slipping a scroll to a guard. These aren't idle conversations, they're the threads of plots that could topple dynasties. The emperor's cousin is rallying support for a coup, or the empress is quietly bribing the Praetorian Guard to secure her son's succession. You're not a player in these games, not really, but you're a piece on the board, your favor with thee. Emperor makes you a target, some want to use you, others want you gone. Your rivals are your first threat. That charming Lucius, who always seems to know the emperor's favorite wine, has been whispering to a courtier that you're too ambitious, maybe even disloyal. Claudia, with her perfect curls and sharper tongue, might accidentally spill a rumor that you were seen with a senator's wife. These aren't just petty jealousies, they're calculated strikes. The emperor doubts you, you're out. If the empress suspects you're a threat, you might find hemlock in your next goblet. Poison is the court's favorite weapon, silent, subtle, and deniable. Servant might slip it into your wine. A gift of honeyed figs might hide a bitter secret, or a perfumed oil could burn more than your skin. The emperor himself is a danger. His favor is your lifeline, but it's as fickle as a spring breeze. One day he's calling you to his side, laughing at your stories, draping you in jewels. The next he's distracted by a new face, a younger smile, or a political crisis that makes you irrelevant. If he's Nero, he might demand you perform in one of his plays, humiliating you for his amusement. If he's Caligula, he might decide, you're a god one day and a traitor the next.
Ow!
His whims are law, and you're subject to them all. Cross him, even unintentionally, and you're not just exiled, you're erased. The empress is no safer. If you're her favorite, you're a tool in her arsenal, used to charm allies or spy on enemies. But her favor comes with a leash. She might ask you to seduce a senator to learn his plans, or to charm a visiting king to secure a trade deal. Refuse and you're disloyal. Succeed and you've made enemies who will remember your face. Her jealousy is a blade. It cuts both ways. Woe to you if she thinks you're too close to the emperor, or, worse, to another woman in the court. Then there's the broader web of power, the Praetorian Guard, those hulking soldiers who protect. The emperor are loyal to coin, not men. A bribe from a rival could see you accused of treason, dragged from your bed before dawn. Senators, with their purple-striped togas and endless ambition, see you as a stepping stone or a scandal waiting to happen. Even the slaves, silent and scurrying, are part of the game. Some are spies, others assassins, all of them listening. You learn to watch the shadows, to check your wine for a telltale sheen, to sleep with one eye open. The danger isn't just physical, it's psychological. Every day you walk through a maze of lies, flattery, and betrayal. You can't trust anyone, not your fellow concubines, not the servants, not even the emperor's smile. A kind word from a courtier might be a trap. A gift of perfume might be a test. You're always on guard, always performing, always wondering if today's the day you'll slip. The court is a place where a single rumor can end you, where a misplaced laugh can cost you everything. You're not just living, you're surviving, and the cost is your peace, your trust, your very sense of self. Beneath the silk and the smiles, your life as a male concubine is a storm of emotions, a constant battle to keep your heart and mind intact. The palace is a world of splendor, but it's also a prison, and you're its most decorated inmate. Your existence revolves around the emperor's favor, a fragile thread that holds your life together. Every day you wake with a knot in your chest, wondering if today's the day you'll lose it all. The weight of that uncertainty is heavier than any golden chain around your neck. You're desired, yes, but it's a hollow kind of want. The emperor's affection isn't love, it's possession. He might shower you with gifts, emerald rings, ivory combs, a villa by the sea, but they're not for you, not really. It's there for his image, proof of his power to command beauty and loyalty. You smile, you bow, you whisper words of devotion, but deep down, you know you're a trophy. Polished and displayed until a shinier one comes along. The Empress's favor is no better. Her attention is a spotlight, warm but scorching, and you're always one misstep from burning. Loneliness is your constant companion. You're surrounded by people, courtiers, slaves, rivals, but none of them are friends. You can't confide in Lucius. He'd use your fears against you. Claudia would sell your secrets for a better seat at the banquet. The slaves might pity you, but they're too busy surviving their own hell to care. You learn to hide your heart, to bury your doubts beneath a mask of charm. But at night, when the palace quiets and the torches dim, the silence is deafening. You lie on your silk-draped bed, staring at the frescoed ceiling, wondering who you are when the performance ends. The pressure to maintain your allure is relentless. Your beauty is your armor, but it's fragile. Every morning, slaves scrub your skin, oil your hair, trim your nails to perfection. You exercise to keep your body lithe. You practice your smile in polished bronze mirrors. You memorize poetry to dazzle the court. But age is a thief, and it's always creeping closer. A wrinkle, a gray hair, a moment of exhaustion, any flaw could cost you the emperor's gaze. You see it in the older concubines, once radiant, now relegated to the shadows, their eyes haunted by what they've lost. You dread becoming them, but the mirror doesn't lie. Your intelligence is as crucial as your looks, the emperor expects. Wit, not just beauty, must know when to speak, when to stay silent, when to laugh at a terrible joke. You study history, rhetoric, even the stars, just to hold your own in a conversation with a senator or a philosopher. But knowledge is a double-edged sword. Show too much, and you're a threat. Show too little, and you're boring. Always balancing, always calculating, always exhausting yourself to stay one step ahead of oblivion. The emotional toll is invisible but crushing. You're not allowed to grieve, to rage, to be human. If the emperor dismisses you, you smile. If a rival humiliates you, you laugh it off. If you hear whispers of a plot against you, you pretend not to notice. Every emotion is a performance, and the audience never claps. You dream of escape a quiet farm in Campania, a life where no one watches you. But those dreams are dangerous. Hope makes you careless, and carelessness is death. Yet there are moments of fleeting joy. A kind word from the emperor, a rare night when the court is quiet, a stolen glance at the stars from a palace balcony. They remind you that you're still alive, still human, but those moments are rare, and they come at a cost. To survive, you must harden your heart, bury your fears, and wear your mask until it feels like your face. You're a concubine, a star in Rome's constellation. But even stars burn out. As the day fades and the palace grows quiet, you stand at the edge of a marble balcony, looking out over Rome. The city sprawls beneath you, a glittering chaos of temples, forums, and insulae, all bathed in moonlight. From here, the imperial court seems like a dream world of silk, gold, and endless feasts. But you know the truth. The palace is a paradox, a place where beauty masks brutality, where every pleasure hides a price. As a male concubine, you're the empire's ornament, but you're also its prey, The contrast is stark. The court dazzles with its opulence mosaics. That rivaled the heavens, wines that taste of distant lands, music that soothes the soul. But beneath the surface, it's a battlefield. Every smile is a strategy, every gift a gamble. You've danced through banquets, navigated whispers, dodged poisons, and kept your heart locked away, all to hold your place in this glittering hell. The Emperor's favor is your shield, but it's as fragile as the glass in your hand.
One
Wrong move, and it shatters. Survival here isn't about strength or courage. It's about cunning. You've learned to read the room, to charm without threatening, to listen without speaking. You've mastered the art of being seen but not noticed, desired but not trusted. The palace has shaped you, polished you, but it's also worn you down. You're not just living, you're enduring, and every day is a victory against the odds. Rome's imperial court is eternal in its grandeur, but you are not. You're a fleeting star, burning bright for a moment before the next one takes your place. Yet, in that moment, you've played a part in the empire's story. You've walked its marble halls, laughed at its feasts, survived its schemes. You've seen the heart of power, and you've paid the price. The palace is a stage, and you've played your role, but the curtain never falls. Tomorrow, you'll do it all again: smile, charm, survive, because in Rome, the show never ends, and the stakes are always your life. Part 2. Rodagune of Parthia, the unwashed warrior princess, right? Settle back. Keep that fan humming for that soft, sleepy background buzz, and let's trade the glittering halls of Rome for the dusty plains of Parthia. You're not a concubine anymore, not a pawn in someone else's game. Tonight, you're Rodagune, a princess of the Parthian Empire, born into a world of grit, horses, and rebellion. No silk cushions or perfumed oils, here just armor, sweat, and a vow that'll make your enemies tremble. This is a story of defiance, of a woman who turned her own hair into a war banner and rode straight into legend. If you're enjoying this, give it a like and let me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is. Let's right into the heart of Parthia, where the air smells of dust and ambition, and survival means keeping your word, no matter how tangled it gets. You wake to the sound of hooves thundering in the distance, the clatter of bronze armor, and the sharp cries of a hawk circling above. Welcome to the Parthian Empire, 2nd century BCE, where you're not just any noblewoman, you're Rodagune, daughter of King Mithridates II, a princess whose blood runs as fierce as the desert winds. The court around you isn't a marble palace like Rome's. It's a sprawling complex of tents and stone halls, stitched together by loyalty, betrayal, and the constant threat of rebellion. The air is thick with the scent of leather, smoke, and the faint tang of blood from a recent sacrifice to the gods. You're not here to be admired. You're here to command. And every eye in this court is watching to see if you'll break. The Parthian court is no place for the faint-hearted. It's a world of warriors and schemers, where kings expand empires by sword and marriage, and every ally is a potential enemy. Your father, Mithridates II, isn't a man who sits idly on a throne. He's carved Parthia from a dusty fringe kingdom into a power that makes Rome nervous, stretching from the Persian Gulf to the edges of Mesopotamia. But empires like this aren't held together by gold. They're bound by blood, oaths, and the occasional well-placed dagger. As his daughter, you're not just a princess. You're a symbol of Parthian pride, a living promise that the empire will endure. But symbols don't get to rest. You're expected to be more than a pretty face. You're trained in statecraft. In war, in the art of wearing armor that doesn't clash with your reputation, your days begin early. Before the sun scorches the plains, you're up with the generals, listening as they argue over maps scratched into the sand. Envoys from distant provinces arrive, their robes dusty, their voices tense with news of unrest. Scribes scribble frantically, trying to track who's loyal and who's plotting this week. The court is a hive of activity, but it's not a safe one. Every noble has an agenda, every advisor a hidden blade. Your brothers, if you have any, watch you with wary eyes, wondering if you'll outshine them. Your mother, or perhaps a queenly aunt, teaches you to navigate the court's politics with a smile that hides your steel. You've learned to read faces, to hear the lies beneath flattery, to know when a gift of wine is just wine and when it's something deadlier. As a woman in Parthia, you're not confined to spinning wool or arranging flowers. Noble women here wield power, some rule cities, others broker alliances, and a few, like you, become legends. But power comes with a price. Court expects you to be flawless, brave but not reckless, wise but not threatening, beautiful but not vain. Your armor, polished to a dull gleam, is as much a statement as your words. Your hair, braided tightly for battle, is a crown you wear without gold. Every move you make is judged, every word weighed. A misstep could cost you your father's favor, your allies' trust, or your life. The court is a battlefield, and you've learned to fight it with grace and grit. But now, the court is buzzing with something bigger than gossip. Rebellion is brewing in the western provinces, Media, or Babylonia, maybe both. It's not just a few angry farmers. It's aristocrats and city leaders, men with armies and egos, spitting in the face of Parthian rule. They've taken fortresses, silenced your father's envoys, and declared they'd rather burn than bow. The court is tense, the air crackling with fear and opportunity. Your father could send a general or a cousin with too much ambition and too little sense. But something shifts. The whispers turn to you, Rodagune, the princess who rides like a warrior and speaks like a king. The court is watching, and so is the empire. It's time to step out of the shadows and into the dust. The rebellion isn't a distant rumor anymore. It's a fire spreading through the empire's edges, and you, Rodagune, are the one chosen to put it out. Why you? Maybe the generals are. Stretched thin, maybe your father sees a chance to prove your worth. Or maybe you demanded the role yourself, tired of sitting through courtly debates while cities burn. Whatever the reason, you're no longer just a princess. You're a commander, and you're about to make a vow that'll echo through Parthia's history. You stand before the court, your armor gleaming under the torchlight, and declare you will not wash, comb, or tend to your hair until the rebellion is crushed. It's not vanity, it's a promise, a symbol that ties your dignity to the empire's fate. Every tangled strand will scream to your soldiers, to your enemies. To the gods themselves, this isn't over until we win. You ride out from the capital. Not with a parade of silk banners, but with cavalry, dust, and the weight of an empire on your shoulders. Your hair, once a cascade of royal braids, begins to knot, collecting the grit of the road. It's not a crown of gold, but of thorns a badge. Of your resolve, the rebels aren't just a rabble. They're fortified, confident, holed up in cities with walls that mock your father's rule. They expected a general, maybe a diplomat, to bribe them into submission. Instead, they get you, a woman with steel in her eyes and no time for their arrogance. Your soldiers see you, not as a princess on a pedestal, but as one of them, your hands. Calloused, your face streaked with dust. They rally, not because you're royal, but because you're real. The campaign is no quick siege. These rebels are stubborn, their cities bristling with archers and smug defiance. You don't charge in blindly, that's for fools with more ego than strategy. You use Parthia's strength, mobility, cunning, hit-and-run raids that keep the enemy guessing. Your cavalry strikes at dawn, vanishing into the hills before the rebels can retaliate. You cut their trade routes, poison their wells, let hunger do what swords can't. Your hair grows wilder with each passing week, matted with sweat and sand, a living banner of your vow. The soldiers start calling you the Witch Queen, not because you cast spells, but because no noble woman should be this relentless, this unyielding, this unwashed. The rebels laugh at first. Their laughter fades when they see your army's banners on the horizon, your silhouette at the front, your hair a tangled testament to their doom. You're not just a figurehead. You're in the thick of it, inspecting. Armor, sharing gritty bread with your troops, riding patrols under a merciless sun. You know the terrain, the wind, the way a shadow moves before an ambush. Your strategies are sharp feigned retreats that lure the enemy into traps, night raids, that leave their camps in flames. The rebels expected hesitation, not a woman who fights like she was born in the saddle. Your soldiers don't just follow you.
Ow.
They revere you. Every knot in your hair is a story, every speck of dust a victory. By the third month, your presence alone is a weapon. The rebels whisper of the princess who won't wash, who won't break, who rides like death itself. The final stronghold looms, a walled city that thinks it's untouchable. The rebels have hoarded supplies, lined their walls with archers, and reinforced their gates with the kind of arrogance only traitors can muster. They believe they can outlast you, that time is their ally. Big mistake. You've turned time into a weapon, starving them out, cutting their lifelines, letting their morale crumble like dry clay. Your hair, now a rope of dust and defiance, is a legend in itself. Soldiers joke that the rebels aren't afraid of Parthian. Swords they're afraid you'll never wash again. Oh, they're not wrong. You don't rush the gates. You wait, patient as a vulture, until a scout finds a weakness, a small gate left unguarded for a single hour. That night, under cover of darkness, your forces slip inside, silent as shadows. By morning, the city is yours. You stand atop the battlements, armor dented, face streaked with ash, your hair a wild mane that could scare a lion. The rebellion is dead, every oathbreaker brought low. Your vow is complete. The victory isn't celebrated with trumpets or parades, it's marked. With water, you summon your servants to a public courtyard, not a gilded chamber. Your soldiers, scarred and sunburned, gather to watch. Basins are filled, oils warmed, combs retrieved like sacred relics. Under the open sky, you Rodagune, the warrior princess. Of Parthia, begin to wash. Every tangle undone is a city reclaimed, every rinse a rebellion crushed. The water runs dark with the dust of war, soaking into the earth as if the land itself is healed. Some say you wept, others say you laughed, but all agree the silence of your troops was deafening.
Ow.
They didn't see a princess, they saw a commander, who'd bled beside them, who'd kept her word. You emerged transformed. Your hair no longer a banner of war, but a symbol of victory. No crown is placed on your head. You don't need one. The dust was your diadem, your vow, your scepter. In that moment, Parthia doesn't just have a princess. It has a legend, one forged not in gold, but in grit. You could have ridden back to the capital in triumph, basking in the cheers of a grateful court, but you don't. You take the long road, visiting each reclaimed city, walking their streets, inspecting their defenses. This isn't vanity, it's strategy. You know, empires fall not just from defeat, but from complacency. You meet with loyalists. Hear their complaints. Pay for supplies from your own coffers. Rebels who repent are offered cautious clemency. Those who don't are reminded why you're called the Witch Queen. Everywhere you go, people gather not to gawk at royalty, but to stare at a woman who chose hardship over comfort, who earned loyalty with sweat, not decrees. By the time you reach the court, your name is already a legend. Scribes scramble to record your tale. Artists argue over how to paint wild-haired and battle-worn or radiant and reborn, but you don't care for their flattery. You've proven what you needed to. That Parthia's strength isn't just in its cavalry or coin, but in its people, leaders who keep their vows. The court whispers of your popularity, some urging you be married off to tame your influence, others wanting. You two lead armies forever. You stay silent, letting your presence speak. Your hair, now braided with gold thread, is a reminder. You've conquered cities, not for glory, but for pard. History tries to erase you as it does so many women. The scribes' favorite kings, the chroniclers downplay your campaign. No statues rise in your name, no epic poems bear your face. But legends don't need stone. In the villages you spared, the outposts you fought for, your name lives on. Mothers tell their daughters of Rodagune, not as a fairy tale, but as a warning to men who underestimate a woman with a mission. Soldiers recite your tactics like sacred texts. Even rebels, decades later, speak of you as if you might ride again, hair flying like a war banner. You didn't need a throne to rule, you ruled in memory, in dust, in the unbreakable vow that crowned you. All right, cozy up. Keep that fan worry for that gentle hum, and let's leave the dusty courts of Parthia behind. Now, you're stepping into the windswept steppes of Central Asia, around 530 BCE, where the air smells of wild grass, horse sweat, and defiance. Not a princess or a concubine, you're Tomyris, queen of the Massagetes, a warrior ruler of a nomadic tribe. That bows to no one, not even the mightiest empire on earth. Your crown isn't gold. It's the loyalty of your people, forged in blood and battle. This is a tale of courage, vengeance, and a queen who turned a marriage proposal into a war cry. If you're enjoying this, give it a like and let me know where you're reading from and what time it is. Now let's ride into the heart of the steppe, where the horizon is endless. So is your resolve. You wake to the creak of yurts, the low neigh of horses, and the sharp scent of smoke from a fire that never quite dies. You're Tomyris, queen of the Massagetes, a nomadic people who roam the vast steppes east of the Caspian Sea. Your court isn't a palace of marble or silk, it's a circle of tents. Sturdy felt stretched over wooden frames, moving with the seasons and the grazing patterns of your herds. The ground beneath your boots is hard-packed earth, the sky above a canvas of stars that guide your people. Through nights as cold as iron, this is no place for soft hands or weak hearts. Here you rule not by birthright alone, but by the strength of your arm, the sharpness of your mind. It's the trust of warriors who'd ride into death for you. The Massagetes are a people of freedom, bound by no city walls or foreign kings. Your warriors, men and women alike, are born in the saddle, their bows as familiar as their own breath. They wear leather and furs, not for fashion but for survival, their belts heavy with knives and quivers. Your court is less a gathering of nobles than a council of equals, tribal leaders, shamans, and grizzled fighters who speak plainly and carry grudges like heirlooms. You sit among them, not on a throne, but on a horsehair blanket. Your bow within reach, your eyes scanning the horizon for threats. The steppe is your kingdom, and it's as unforgiving as it is vast. As queen, you're not just a ruler, you're a mother, a warrior, a judge. Your people look to you to settle disputes over grazing lands, to lead hunts for antelope, to read the omens and the flight of birds. You've trained alongside your warriors, your hands calloused from bowstrings, your legs strong from days in. The saddle, the steppes, secrets, the hidden springs, the paths through the hills, the places where the wind carries whispers of danger. Your son Spargapius rides at your side. A young man with your fire but not yet your caution. He's your pride, your heir, but also your vulnerability. A fact that keeps you awake when the camp is silent. The Massagetes are no strangers to war. You've clashed with neighboring tribes, fought off raiders, and sent envoys to distant kings, with terms that sound more like warnings. But now a new shadow looms. Word spreads of a vast army moving from the south, led by Cyrus the Great, king of Persia, whose empire swallows kingdoms like a wolf, devours lambs. His envoys arrive, their robes too fine for the dust of the steppe, their words dripping with flattery. They bring a message. Cyrus wants your hand in marriage, a union to bind your people to his empire. You see it for what it is, not a proposal but a demand for surrender. The court grows quiet, your warriors' hands tightening on their knives. You smile, but it's the smile of a predator. Cyrus has misjudged you, and he'll pay for it. You stand before your people, the Persian envoys, words still hanging in the air like a storm cloud. Marriage to Cyrus? The man who's conquered Media Lydia and half the known world? You're not flattered, you're insulted. You know Cyrus's game? He doesn't want a wife, he wants your lands, your warriors, your freedom, the Massagetes. Don't kneel, not to kings, not to gods, and certainly not to a man who thinks a crown makes him invincible. You send the envoy back with a message of your own. Come and try to take what you want, but you'll find the steppe is no place for. Soft men. Your warriors cheer, their voices shaking the tents. The die is cast and war is coming. Cyrus doesn't waste time. His army marches north, a glittering tide of spears, chariots, and ambition. You watch from a hilltop, your scouts reporting there. Numbers, their tactics, their arrogance. They're disciplined, yes, but they're not step-born. They don't know the land the way the rivers shift, the gullies that hide archers, the winds that turn arrows into death. You don't meet them head-on. That's not your way. You send small bands to harass their flanks, to steal their horses, to burn their supplies. Your warriors strike like lightning, gone before the Persians can blink. You see the frustration in their movements, the way their lines falter when they find empty camps instead of battles. But Cyrus is no fool. He changes tactics, sending a smaller force to bait you. He offers peace, a parley, a chance to avoid bloodshed. You know it's a trap, but your son Spargopizes, burns with youth's impatience. He begs to lead a raid, to show the Persians what the Massagetæ are made of. Against your better judgment, you agree, trusting his skill, but fearing his fire. He rides out with a third of your warriors, their hoofbeats like thunder across the steppe. You wait, your heart heavy, your eyes on the horizon. The news comes like a blade. Spargopizes has been captured. Norris lured him into a feigned retreat, then closed the trap. Your son, your heir, is a prisoner, his life in the hands of a man who'd rather see him dead than ransomed. The Persians send a messenger, offering terms, submit, and Spargopizes' lives. Refuse, and he dies. You feel the eyes of your people, the weight of their trust, their fear. You send the messenger back with a single word, come. But the blow lands harder than you'll admit. Spargopizes, your boy, the one who rode at your knee, who laughed at your side, is gone. Word reaches you later. He took his own life, rather than be Cyrus's pawn. Steppe grows quiet, but inside, you're a storm. Grief is a luxury you can't afford. You bury your pain, letting it fuel you, sharpen you. Cyrus thinks he's won, that your loss will break you. He's wrong. You gather your warriors, not with speeches, but with the fire in your eyes. The Massagetæ don't fight for glory or gold. They fight for their queen, their freedom, their fallen. You plan your strike, using the steppe itself as your weapon. You know every ridge, every river, every shadow. Cyrus doesn't. You lure his army deeper into your territory, away from their supplies, their reinforcements. You let them chase ghosts, exhausting their horses, fraying their nerves. Your scouts report their weaknesses. Tired men, low morale, overconfidence. You strike at dusk, when the light blinds them but guides your arrows. Your cavalry sweeps in, a wave of hooves and death, bows singing as they cut down Persian ranks. Not at the rear, you're in the thick of it, your bowstring taut, your voice rallying your warriors. The Persians break, their lines crumbling, like dry earth. Cyrus himself falls, his ambition buried in the dust. The aftermath is grim. The steppe is littered with bodies, Persian and Massagetæ alike. You find Cyrus's corpse, his crown meaningless now. You don't gloat, you grieve, not for him, but for your son, for the warriors who won't ride home, the Persians expect. Mercy, a queen's softness, they get your vengeance instead. You order Cyrus's head severed, his blood drained into a wineskin. You hold it high, your voice cutting through the silence. You thirsted for blood, Cyrus, now drink your fill. It's not cruelty, it's justice. Steppe style. The Massagetæ cheer, their grief mingling with triumph. The empire that thought to tame you lies broken at your feet. You return to your people, not as a conqueror, but as a queen who kept her promise. The steppe is yours again, its freedom intact, its spirit unbroken. You don't build monuments or write epics, those are for settled kings with too much time. Instead, you rebuild. You honor the fallen with feasts and offerings, their names sung by shamans under starlit skies. You strengthen your tribe, forging alliances with neighbors, teaching your warriors to watch the horizon as you do. The Persians retreat, their empire licking its wounds, but you know they'll come again. You'll be ready. Your story spreads beyond the steppe, carried by traders, sung by poets. To the Greeks, you're a barbarian queen, a tale to thrill their audiences. To your people, you're more mother, warrior, the heart of the Massagetæ. Your name becomes a rallying cry, a reminder that no empire can chain the steppe. Centuries later, when new nations rise from your lands, they claim you as their own. Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, they see you in their blood, their pride, their refusal to bow. Your story isn't written in stone, but in the wind, in the hoofbeats, in the fire of those who remember. You, Tomyris, didn't just defeat Cyrus, you defied an empire, paid a price no mother should, and carved your name into history's heart. The steppe still sings of you, and as long as it stretches, so does your legacy. All right, let's ease back, keep that fan humming for that soft, sleepy drone, and shift from the blood-soaked steppes to a world buzzing with a different kind of power. You're no longer a warrior queen or a perfumed concubiner, a keeper of secrets. Standing in the shadow of ancient courts where honey wasn't just food, it was a gift from the gods, a currency of kings, and a tool of empires. This is the story of beekeeping in the royal courts of ancient civilizations, Egypt, Mesopotamia, the Hittites, Greece, and Rome, where the hum of bees echoed the ambitions of rulers. It's a tale of science, faith, and the sweet labor that fueled palaces. If you're enjoying this, give it a like and let me know where you're reading from and what time it is. Now, step into the sunlit apiaries of the ancient world, where every drop of honey was worth its weight in gold. You're standing on the banks of the Nile. 2000 BCE, the sun blazing overhead, the air thick with the scent of lotus and mud. You're not a pharaoh or a priest, but a beekeeper in the service of Egypt's divine king, tasked with tending hives that supply the royal court. The palace at Thebes looms in the distance, its walls painted with gods and victories, but your world is smaller, humbler, rows of clay hives, shaped like cylinders, stacked along the river's edge. The bees don't care about pharaohs, they dance their waggle dances, oblivious to the grandeur, but their honey is the lifeblood of the court's rituals and power. In Egypt, honey is no mere sweetener, it's sacred, a gift from Ra himself. The royal court demands it for everything. Offerings to Ammon in gilded temples, ointments for the pharaoh's skin, bombs for mummifying the dead. You're not just harvesting honey, you're crafting divinity. A pharaoh, a living god, expects his table to gleam with honeyed cakes and wine laced with the stuff. Each bite a reminder of his connection to the heavens, his queen adorned. In gold, uses honey in her cosmetics, her skin glowing like the sun disk. Even the dead need it. Embalmers mix honey with natron to preserve royal bodies for eternity. Your hives are a treasury, and you guard them like a soldier guards a fortress. Your work is precise, almost priestly. You move hives with the seasons, chasing the bloom of clover and acacia along the Nile's floodplains. You weave baskets too. Protect the combs, smoke the bees with burning papyrus to calm them, and extract honey with hands steady as a scribe's. The court's overseers watch you closely, tallying every jar because honey is taxed, traded, and hoarded like gold. A single misstep, a broken hive, a lost swarm could see you flogged or worse. But when you deliver a perfect batch, glistening like amber in the sunlight, you're rewarded with a nod from a vizier, maybe a scrap of linen, or a copper ring. It's not glory, but it's enough. The palace hums with your labor's results. At banquets, nobles dip their bread in honey, praising its sweetness as they plot alliances. Priests pour it over statues of Osiris, their chants mingling with the buzz of distant hives. You've seen the royal children's sneak tastes, their fingers sticky, their laughter a rare human note in the court's formality. But you know the truth. Every jar you produce is a thread in Egypt's power, tying the pharaoh to his gods, his people, his eternity. You're not just a beekeeper, you're a keeper of the divine order. And your bees are the unsung priests of the Nile. Now you're in Babylon. 1750 BCE. Standing in the shadow of a ziggurat that pierces the sky, you're a beekeeper in the service of a Mesopotamian king, maybe Hammurabi himself, whose laws govern everything, even the bees you tend. Your hives are mud brick domes, scattered in groves of date palms, their hum a quiet counterpoint to the city's chaos. The royal court, with its lapis lazuli walls and cedar gates, demands your honey and wax not just for luxury, but for survival. In Mesopotamia, honey is wealth, and you're its steward. The court's appetite for honey is insatiable. Kings offer it to Marduk in towering temples, their prayers rising with the smoke of beeswax candles. Queens use it in perfumes, their scents lingering in the halls like a claim to power. Physicians mix it with herbs to treat fevers, believing it holds the breath of the gods. Even scribes, scratching away at clay tablets, rely on your wax for seals that bind treaties and debts. The Code of Hammurabi protects your work. Steal a hive, and you'll pay a fine heavier than a merchant's purse. You'll damage a royal apiary, and you might lose a hand. Your hives aren't just yours, they're the king's, and you're as much a servant as the soldiers who guard his gates. Your days are long, your hands stained with wax and propolis. You check hives at dawn, dodging stings as you inspect combs for signs of disease or thieves. You move hives to follow the bloom of tamarisk and lotus, hauling them on ox carts under a merciless sun. The court stewards demand regular deliveries, their tallies unforgiving. A good season means a share of the profits may be enough to buy a goat or a new cloak. It's a bad one, and you're explaining yourself to a scribe who doesn't know a bee from a wasp. You've learned to pray to Shamash for fair weather, to watch the stars for signs of rain, to trust your instincts when a swarm hums too quietly. The palace reaps what you sow. At royal feasts, honey glazes lamb and sweetens barley cakes, each dish a display of the king's wealth. Wax seals secure the king's decrees, sent to distant governors or rival kings. Priests use it in rituals to appease angry gods. Their voices echoing in temples where your wax burns bright. 1400 You're not invited
BCE,
to these feasts,
your
these
beekeeper
prayers,
in the Hittite capital,
but you feel their weight. Your
city
honey
carved
binds
into
the
rocky
court to
hills.
its gods, its
The
allies.
royal court is a
its
fortress
laws.
of stone and ambition.
You're a small
Its
cog
kings
in
claiming divine
Mesopotamia's
favor
machine.
from 1,000 gods.
But without
Your
you,
hives.
the wheels
Built
would
from
grind
wicker
to a
and
halt.
clay,
Hum in sacred groves near temples to the storm god Teshub. Here, bees aren't just insects. They're messengers of the divine. They're honey, a bridge between mortals and gods. As a beekeeper, you're part priest, part laborer, serving a court where every ritual is a matter of survival. The Hittite court is obsessed with purity, and your honey is its cornerstone. Kings and queens use it in purification rites, washing away curses with sweet water poured from silver ewers. Priests smear it on altars, believing it carries prayers to the heavens. Warriors anoint their swords with it before battle, seeking the gods' favor. The royal archives, etched in clay, record honey as a tribute from vassal states, a measure of loyalty as much as wealth. Your hives are sacred, guarded by temple attendants who see your work as a holy duty. Steal from them, and you're not just a thief or a heretic. Your life is a rhythm of ritual and toil. You tend hives at dawn, offering a prayer to the sun goddess Arena before touching the combs. You use smoke from cedar to calm the bees, your hands steady despite the stings that mark your skin like badges. You move hives to mountain meadows when the wildflowers bloom, your path blessed by priests who sprinkle your way with honey water. The court demands perfection. Cloudy honey or cracked wax could be seen as an ill omen, costing you your place. But a good harvest earns you a place at minor rituals, where you stand in the temple's shadow, watching your honey drip onto sacred stones. The palace thrives on your work. At royal banquets, honey sweetens wine and breads, a display of divine favor. Queens use wax in cosmetics, their beauty a reflection of the god's grace. Priests burn it in braziers, the smoke curling toward the sky like a prayer. You're not a noble, but you're essential, a silent partner in the court's dance with the divine. The Hittites believe the gods watch everything, and your bees, humming in their sacred groves, are proof that the gods are listening. Now you're in Athens, 500 BCE, a beekeeper serving the elite of a city-state where philosophy and poetry mingle. With politics, your hives, woven from straw and shaped like domes, sit in olive groves outside the city. There hum a quiet hymn to Demeter and Artemis. The royal court is gone. Greece has no kings, but the wealthy patrons who fund temples and festivals are your masters now. They see bees as more than insects. They're symbols of order, community, and the divine feminine. Their honey a gift for both gods and men. The courtly elite demand your honey for their symposia, where philosophers like Socrates sip honeyed wine while debating the soul. Priestesses use it in offerings to Athena, pouring it into shallow bowls at the Parthenon's base. Physicians prescribe it for everything from wounds to melancholy, believing it holds the essence of the earth's bounty. Wax is molded into votive figures left at shrines to curry favor with the gods. Your hives are a small empire. They produce a currency in a city that worships both reason and ritual. Lose a swarm, and you're begging for a loan to survive. Deliver a surplus, and you might dine with a poet or a general. Your work is both art and science. You've mastered the movable hive, a Greek innovation that lets you harvest combs without killing the bees. You watch the seasons, moving hives to time-covered hills or clover fields, timing your harvests with the moon's phases. You've learned to read the bees' dances, to spot a queen's weakness, to fend off robbers, human and insect alike. The agora buzzes with your reputation. Good beekeeper is as respected as a sculptor. Your honey a mark of quality in a city that prizes excellence. The elite reap your rewards. At their feasts, honey drizzles over figs and cheese, a nod to the gods' generosity. Wax seals secure their letters, carrying secrets to distant colonies. Priestesses anoint statues with your honey, their prayers rising with its scent. You're not invited to these gatherings, but you feel their echo. Your bees, dancing in their hives, mirror Athens itself, a city of order, beauty and ambition, where every drop of honey is a taste of divinity. Finally, you're in Rome, 100 CE, a beekeeper serving the imperial court on the Palatine Hill. Your hives, sturdy wicker and wood, line the estates of senators and emperors, their buzz drowned out by the city's roar. The court is a machine of excess, and your honey fuels its engine. Emperors like Trajan demand it for their banquets, where it glazes exotic dishes from across the empire. Empresses use it in perfumes and ointments, their beauty a weapon in the game of power. Physicians mix it with herbs for the emperor's health, while priests offer it to Jupiter in golden bowls. Your hives are a business, not a sacred duty. Rome's scale is vast. Hundreds of hives supply the court. Their honey shipped in amphorae, their wax molded into candles that light the Colosseum. You manage teams of slaves, oversee transports to villas in Campania, and haggle with merchants. Who'd cheat you blind? The court's stewards demand records, weights, and samples. Their bureaucracy as relentless as the bees' hum. A good season means profit, maybe a plot of land. It's a bad one, and you're selling your cloak to pay debts. You've learned to predict swarms, to graft combs, to keep your hives safe from thieves and pests. The palace shines with your work. At imperial feasts, honey sweetens mulsum, a wine that loosens tongues and seals alliances. Wax candles burn. In the emperor's chambers, their light casting shadows on plots and promises. Physicians use your honey to soothe the emperor's cough, while slaves mix it into the empress's baths. You're a small part of Rome's grandeur, but an essential one. Your bees, humming in their hives, are the empire's unsung laborers, their honey a thread in the tapestry of power. Across these courts, Egypt, Mesopotamia, the Hittites, Greece, Rome, honey is more than food. It's a bridge to the divine, a medicine for the body, a symbol of order. In temples, it's poured over altars, burned in wax, offered to gods who demand sweetness. In palaces, it's a status symbol, a taste of wealth and divine favor. Physicians swear by it, mixing it with herbs to heal wounds, calm fevers, or ease a king's pain. Shamans and priestesses see bees as messengers, their hum a whisper from the gods. Every jar you produce is a prayer, a remedy, a piece of the divine order that holds these empires together. Your techniques are a blend of craft and instinct. In Egypt, you move hives by barge, chasing the Nile's blooms. In Mesopotamia, you build mud brick domes, cooling them with palm fronds. the Hittites. Teach you to pray before harvesting, the Greeks to use movable combs, the Romans to scale up with military precision. You use smoke to calm bees, clay to seal jars, wicker to shape hives. Watch the stars, the winds, the flowers, knowing a single mistake could cost your harvest. Your knowledge, passed down through generations, is as vital as any general's. Strategy, any priest's chant. Your work lives on. It's the techniques you honed: movable hives, seasonal migrations, smoke, and prayer-shaped beekeeping for centuries. Egypt's clay hives inspire Roman apiaries. Greece's combs influence medieval monks. Honey remains a symbol of divine favor, its sweetness a reminder of the empires you served. From pharaohs to emperors, your bees wove a thread through history. Their hum a quiet hymn to the courts that ruled the world. You were no king, but your honey crowned them all. All right, settle in one last time. Keep that fan humming for that soft, sleepy murmur. And step back from the buzzing hives, the bloodied steppes, and the perfumed intrigues of ancient courts. You've lived a day as a male concubine in Rome's imperial palace, ridden as Rodagune through Parthia's rebellions, fought as Tomyris against a Persian king, and tended bees for the divine rulers of Egypt, Mesopotamia, Greece, and beyond. Now, as the torches dim and the world quiets, you're standing on the edge of history itself, looking back at the courts that shaped empires. This isn't just a story of silken swords, honey, and heroism. It's a reflection on the dazzling, dangerous dance of power that defined the ancient world. If you've enjoyed this journey, give it a like, and let me know where you're reading from and what time it is. Maybe it's late where you are. Perfect for drifting off to these tales. Now, let's weave these threads together, from the glittering halls to the gallows that hid in their shadows, and see what it all means. You've walked through the Palatine Hill, where every marble column gleamed with Rome's glory, but every shadow hid a dagger. As a male concubine, you tasted the empire's excess, wine sweeter than summer. Silks, softer than a lover's touch, but you also felt its weight. The emperor's favor was a golden chain, beautiful but binding, and the court's eyes never blinked. You navigated banquets and rituals, your every word a performance, your every glance a gamble. The palace was a stage, but the stakes were your life. One wrong step, a misspoken jest, a rival's whisper, a poisoned fig, and you'd vanish, not into exile, but into oblivion. Yet you survived, not with a sword, but with cunning, your charm sharper than any blade. The Roman court was a paradox, a place of unimaginable splendor where survival meant outwitting the very people who poured your wine. Then you rode with Rodagune, Parthia's warrior princess, whose vow turned her hair into a banner of defiance. You felt the dust of the steppe, the weight of armor, the fire of a court that demanded loyalty but offered betrayal in return. Her campaign wasn't just a war, it was a testament to what a woman could do when the world underestimated her. She didn't need a throne to rule. She needed resolve, and she paid for it with every unwashed strand, every sleepless night planning raids. Her victory wasn't just over rebels, but over the idea that power belongs to men alone. The Parthian court, with its tents and ambitions, was no less treacherous than Rome's. But Rodagune carved her name into its history, not with gold, but with grit. As Tomyris stood on the windswept plains of the Massagetæ, your heart breaking for a lost son, but burning for vengeance. You faced Cyrus the Great, a man who thought empires could be won with flattery or force, and you taught him the steps lesson. Freedom isn't bargained for, it's fought for. Your court was no palace, but a circle of warriors, loyal not to a crown, but to you, their queen. You turned grief into a weapon, leading your people to a victory that echoed across centuries. The Massagetæ's triumph wasn't just a battle won. It was a declaration that no empire, no matter how vast, could tame a people who valued their way of life over gold or glory. Your legacy lives in the stories of nations that still claim your name, a queen who turned a marriage proposal into a war cry. And then, as a beekeeper, you served the courts of Egypt, Mesopotamia, the Hittites, Greece, and Rome, your hives humming with a power quieter but no less vital. Honey wasn't just food, It was divine, a bridge between kings and gods, a currency of faith and wealth. In Egypt, you fed pharaohs and mummified their dead. In Mesopotamia, you sealed their laws. In Hittite lands, you purified their altars. In Greece, you fueled their philosophies. In Rome, you sweetened their conquests. Your work was humble, your hands stung and calloused, but it wove through the heart of every court. Bees didn't care about crowns, but their honey-crowned empires, binding rituals, medicine, and power into a single, sticky thread. You were no hero, but your labor was heroic, a reminder that even the smallest creatures shape the mightiest kingdoms. What ties these stories together? The dance of power and peril, the glitter of courts and the gallows that lurked beneath. Each life you live, concubine, princess, queen, beekeeper, was a thread in the tapestry of ancient empires where beauty and brutality were two sides of the same coin. The courts were dazzling, their banquets a feast for the senses, their rituals a hymn to the gods. But they were also battlegrounds where ambition clashed with loyalty, where a single misstep could cost everything. You survived Rome's intrigues with a smile, Parthia's rebellions with a vow, Persia's armies with a bow, and the demands of gods with a humble hive. Each role demanded something different: cunning, courage, grit, or patience, but all required you to navigate a world where power was as fragile as it was intoxicating. The legacy of these courts isn't just in their monuments or their conquests, it's in the people who lived, fought, and toiled within them. The concubine's charm kept him alive another day. Rodagune's vow held an empire together. Tomyris' vengeance birthed a legend. The beekeeper's honey fed the divine. These stories, though separated by centuries and seas, share a truth. Power isn't just held, it's earned, often at a cost no crown can repay. The ancient world was built on the backs of those who dared to shine in its courts, knowing the price could be their lives. And there's a deeper echo here, one that resonates even now. The courts you've walked through were obsessed with order, whether it was Rome's laws, Parthia's loyalty, the Massagetes' freedom, or the sacred hum of bees. They sought to tame chaos, to bind gods and men, to make the world bend to their will. But chaos always crept in through a rival's plot, a rebel's defiance, a swarm's escape. That tension between order and rebellion is what made these courts so vibrant, so human. It's why we still tell their stories, why we marvel at their triumphs and shudder at their cruelties. They remind us that power is fleeting, but the courage to face it, to shape it, to survive it is eternal. So as you stand here on the edge of history, what do you see? A world of glittering palaces and bloodied battlefields, of honeyed altars and tangled vows. The courts of Rome, Parthia, the Massagetes, and beyond were machines of ambition, fueled by people like you people who danced, fought, loved, and labored under the weight of empires. Their legacy isn't just in the stones of the Colosseum or the ziggurats of Babylon. It's in the stories we tell, the lessons we learn, the way we still chase order in a chaotic world. The glitter was real, but so were the gallows, and those who walked between them shaped history's heart. Now, as the stars come out and the fans hum lulls you, let these tales settle into your dreams. You've lived a day in Rome's court, ridden with Parthia's princess, fought with a step queen, and tended the bees that crowned empires. The ancient world is gone, but its pulse lives on in the courage of a vow. The sweetness of a hive, the defiance of a queen. Sleep well, knowing you've walked where empires rose and fell and carried their stories into the night.